When we're on. Hello everyone, welcome to our second time streaming live in the new studio here on this new setup that we've got going on. Thank you to everyone who submitted some questions for us for the Q&A today. Again, today I don't have a really fixed schedule of what it is exactly I want to talk about. If you were online last week, I think it was 8 days ago now, I did a live screening just with the one camera to celebrate having hit 500,000 subscribers. Again, thank you all for that. If you haven't been there yet, you can go on over to mattgranger.com/500K, and there's still the sales up there that I put up to celebrate that. Teradek, they're really nice guys, and they're like the industry standard for this kind of streaming. Over time, we have some really cool things planned, but I want to take little baby steps. So last week, if you were here 8 days ago, I did a video for hitting 500,000 subscribers, something I'm still really stoked about. I put up a sale. Go over to mattgranger.com/500K and you can see all the sale stuff there. That was one camera, me controlling everything on the iPad using the Teradek app. This week we have, and you already saw this but probably muted, we have the camera 1 and camera 2 angles here, but we have the potential to actually go up to 4 plus all kinds of different media, bring it in. Now that I have the bandwidth, we want to get complex with it and we want to do some really cool things. We've actually got a big plan for what we want to do live and some really unique things that I don't think have been done before. So we're really excited for that. But beyond muting my mic pack, I want to take small steps and build up the angles, build up the number of different streams and the complexity of the show so that we don't make too many mistakes like that. Then it'll just come back to human error, so you can still expect some. Someone is saying that my audio is peaking massively and too loud. Audio is peaking. Maybe I'll just turn my pack down a level. Okay guys, so you let me know at home if it's still peaking. This is the other thing, so thank you for your feedback. This is the second time we're doing it. We're in a new space with new equipment. It is going to take a little bit of time to get everything working right, but once we dial it in, it should be all perfect, and live, it presents its own challenges, right? It's still saying audio really loud, audio peaking, but hopefully it's been adjusted because there's a slight delayed, and now it's saying too low. Look, we can't please everyone, so Chris will make a last final small adjustment now, slightly bumping it up, and then that's it for the show. From there, adjust your speakers, because it's hard to know exactly. Thank you. I'm getting lots of comments through about great background, great lighting, all of that kind of thing. Thank you. We are really working on it. You would have seen we're doing a whole bunch of videos about soundproofing the studio, putting up the backgrounds, getting in the hand-painted backgrounds. There's more to come. We want to deck it out and make it a really cool setup with a really cool finish and make it really professional and have audio that you can actually hear. So it's going to be a journey without getting too serious about the whole thing. It is a process to go through, and we're working hard on it. So my new videographer, I don't know, what title do you actually prefer? Videographer, DOP, assistant?
If you could call me the staff DP, that's great.
I'm going to call him my video ninja. He wants to be staff DP, but I'm saying video ninja. He's kind of an assistant, but he's DP is really what he's trained in, but he's also helping out with editing and general stuff. We're a lean team. My wife helps out with a couple of things. I do 80 hours a week. Chris is in at the moment 2 to 3 days a week, and on email all the time. But that's us, and I've got Justin back in Australia doing some customer service stuff, and he's going to be coming to America to help us out with a couple of projects. But that's pretty much the team, so it's pretty lean and mean, so we all kind of have to pitch in and do all kinds of different stuff. Thank you for all the comments. I have to admit, as I work my way through this, it is going to take a bit of an adjustment because there's so many comments, they're just flowing through, and there's a slight lag. Even though I tell YouTube, don't put a delay on the broadcast, I'm happy for it to go out completely live. There is still a small delay. So when your comments come through to when you've hit them, it's, you're probably commenting 10 seconds before what I'm reading, if that makes sense. Anyway, thank you for your support. So today, I thought we'll just keep it nice and casual. I've got a bunch of question and answers that got submitted on Instagram and Facebook. If you're not following me on my different social media outlets, I'll get Chris to throw up a little graphic that has all of that. Just jump on over and throw us a like. It's a combination of my travels, my behind the scenes of what we're doing, finished work from my different trips and projects, and of course food and cat photos, because it's Instagram after all, right? Before we get into, what are we talking here? Okay, I've got a lot of questions coming through. Let me just say, I thank you for the questions, but I won't be scrolling back through all of it live. Today, I want to take little baby steps, so I'm going to talk about a few little things that we've been doing. I'm going to open some things in front of you guys, then do the Q&A that we had submitted over on the social media. Then I'll do a call out for questions, and I'll be looking at them live, pulling out things to discuss with you guys, yeah? So I have to say thank you for the response to the recent Mongolia vlog. I was really stoked to see you guys are enjoying that, because we worked really hard on it. I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back there. Most of the videos you're seeing coming out now, Chris has filmed them, he's done the edit, he's found the music and all of that kind of thing. We're using a lot of stock audio these days from Soundstripe, and we're working with some other video editing people to get the videos looking really great. But that Mongolia one I actually put together myself, and I was really stoked that you guys liked it. We did the Hong Kong one before that Chris helped on the edit, and we've got the Mongolia part 2 coming, which I think is even better. So I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the travel stuff as well. But it's always tricky, because I know there's people who signed up just because they love gear videos, and there's people who just signed up because they want to see tutorials. There's others who like everything. There's people who just like my cat, or who follow just for Tina. There's all kinds of people, so I don't want to make it all about one thing. Lately it has been travel heavy, and then setting up the studio heavy, but we do have tutorial stuff coming through, and more reviews and all of that kind of thing. So we plan to try and keep a good healthy mix, But just bear with me as we're going through this process. Sometimes it may be a 2 or 3 of something in a row as we find our groove. Sendy's comment, get on with it. This is it. I don't know what you want me to get on with, but this is it, my friend. If this is not what you're here for, ciao. You need a busty babe on set. Maybe I shouldn't read the comments whilst I'm live on air. So I've had a lot of people asking, when is the next video on this guy coming out? I do intend to. If you are interested in the Tamron 70-200 Generation 2, when it first came out, we did a little hands-on with it. We did a second video hands-on with it. And then in my recent video, now I can see lots of comments coming through. When I was in Hong Kong, I did a video about comparing the D5 to the D500. And a lot of the images I shared in that were taken with this. And as I mentioned in that, there were no issues in terms of working at cold weather. I'll give you a really short review on it. It works fantastically. The quality's great. I would definitely be willing to go out and buy one if I was in the market for a 70-200, given everything that's on the market. There are some little limitations, and that's something that's worth doing the proper video on. But it's outstanding. It's a big jump over the previous one, in my opinion. What else? So we're going, speaking of Tamron, we're going to Japan in a couple of weeks. You excited?
Oh, hell yeah.
He's texting his friends. He's organizing his weekend plans already. Yeah, we're going to Tokyo for, it's like a day travel each way, and then we've got 4 days of filming and a half day before we fly out again for some client work, and we will be making some YouTube stuff at the same time. It's going to be really exciting. I'm hoping that on Saturday the 22nd we can organize a meetup in Tokyo. Most likely, though, it's going to be in the evening and just for a drink, because Saturday is one of our filming days, and we'll probably be going non-stop, dropping the gear at the hotel, and I'll probably even choose a place for the drinks within a 15-minute walk of where we're staying, because we're going to be flying 14 hours to get there, landing the next morning for the next 4 days, doing 10 or 12 or 14-hour days back-to-back of filming. So we're going to be shattered, and probably after a couple of glasses of sake, passed out on the pool table. So it should be fun, though. I got this in the post today, which I thought, and this is actually to take to Japan, so I thought I would open it up. Actually, dang it, I don't know if I can share it. I wrote to them to check if this was a public and announced product and if it was on the market, and I didn't get a response yet. So you can't tell what it was from that bag. Damn it, I've got a couple of things in studio. I'm already tired. I've got a couple of things in studio at the moment that are off the books that I can't talk about just yet. So all I can say is watch this space. And next week we're planning to have a couple of live videos, including one that could be, maybe, I don't know, introducing something that's going to get announced on the day that we share it. Okay, just checking with the lawyers in the room. We're okay in terms of confidentiality? Okay, we're good. Excellent. Smooth, Matt. All right, so what else? I think that's pretty much it. If I've forgotten something, Chris, then remind me. But so we are still developing our systems, so you know, and this is nice and transparent, you understand how the show is working. Right now I have a live feed of the chat that's going on. YouTube also in the back end has like this control room that tells me, is there any issues with my bandwidth? Is there a Justin Bieber song in the background that it's picked up and is in breach of copyright that I need to get rid of? But pretty much everything is healthy. It tells me how many people are watching. And then I have another folder open, and this is a bit ridiculous, something we need to work through. But I have the saved Q&A questions here, and then I need to give him the name of the person so he can search through the list and put it on screen so you guys can see it at the same time. So let's start, because I know he was at the beginning with Alexi, and I will find him because these obviously are pictures, they're not alphabetical. So Alexi Ikonen, do you care about the looks of a camera or other gear? Some manufacturers such as Fuji or Olympus obviously make more effort to make their cameras look nice. Canon, Nikon, Pentax on the other hand are completely functional side of things. It's an interesting question. It's something I talked about really briefly in the camera bag video I did, that whether you think of yourself as a fashionable person or someone who cares about how they look and that kind of thing, and I'm not judgmental in that way. I know people who are, who do look great and take a lot of pride in looking great, and then there's a lot of slobs like me as well, right? But we all choose things, in my opinion, because we think they look good. So, these may not be funky, Larry, what all the cool kids are wearing glasses, but I did choose them because I thought they looked nice. If they started making the D5 look, to my eye, less pretty, but it was just as functional, no, I wouldn't care. I don't think of cameras as fashion accessories in that sense, but I do think some cameras are incredibly sexy. And in my old Tog Life studio, I had that wall of cameras. That's because I found them as kind of carvings, as pieces of art to be beautiful to look at, even if some of those cameras didn't even work. But one thing about taste, I think, for example, the Nikons don't look too bad, and agree that the Fujis look quite nice, and that Olympus is not bad, but the Pentax looks kind of boxy and ugly. But then there's people who love the look of Pentax and hate the look of Fuji, so it's a personal thing. It's not just let's take it as read that everyone agrees that it's crap. Next question from Risha Bejust. Is it wise to invest on a manual prime as a beginner? Chris is trying to find the image. We'll find a better system for this, but that's his question. Is it wise to invest on a manual prime as a beginner? It's really hard to say. For those who are watching for the first time, being that this is live, I should say I try to steer away from really general gear questions, because my take on it is, I don't think that I'm perfect. I don't think that what I like to shoot with and the way I like to shoot is right for you. Everyone has their own take on it. So, for example, I do like zooms, but I also like primes. There's people who only like one or the other. I shoot portraits with a D5, and there'll be people who say they will only shoot them with a X camera because of the dynamic range. And there's all these things. People who will only shoot portraits above 100 mil, and I sometimes shoot them down at 14 mil. So it's not a one size fits all. And buying a manual anything is not for some people, and is a great learning experience for others. So if you are on a tight budget, manual is often a great option. There's so many good brands out there making great manual lenses. You can get, a Samyang or a Laowa, or there's so many different ones out there now that are, for their price, good value, through to Leica and Zeiss, which are quite expensive, right? So there is a huge bandwidth there. Slowing down and shooting film or shooting manual can be a great way to learn and focus and limit the number of shots you're taking, but it's still just not for everyone. And if you don't have a good eye or a camera that will give you focus confirmation, shooting manually could be impossible, or not something that I would recommend. Kendogs. Now that you're in New York City, any plans on a meetup? Yes. Now, I keep reminding myself of this every 2 days. At the moment, Chris is in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays thinking, it's midday, and this is the day that we, don't have the team in the office. I should be getting out and seeing some of the city. Why move to New York and not be out doing stuff? So then trying to crush everything in till before 2 p.m. so we can go out and have a couple of hours to go and do something. So yes, we are going to do all of that. I have workshops, and I'll do a photo walk and all of that. But I would really like to do a meetup. I know it's short notice, but the only day that I think will really work for a meetup would be a week from now. So next Friday, what date would that be?
7th.
Friday the 7th of April, we'll do something. So keep an eye on the site. I'm thinking of it now. I haven't thought of where to go, but I'd say at about 6:30, let's arrange to go for drinks somewhere for a couple of hours, so people who are at work have time to get there, or if you're traveling from somewhere else for work, you can make it. Somewhere in Manhattan, we'll organize drinks for 6:30 on Friday the 7th of April. So if you're in New York, put that in your calendar. Next one from Jackie Bredo. J-A-C-K, Jackie Bredo. Question, how did you start in your female photography, and how did you get it to find girls willing to execute what you were after? Did you know them personally, or did you just reach out to any model you're interested in? I wouldn't say that I particularly started shooting with females. Well, I shoot portraits and I still do shoot intimate portraiture, but I shoot men and women, so I wouldn't say that I started shooting females per se. It's a long answer and it's a short answer. Long answer, check out my Getting Started with Models guide, mattgranger.com/models, and you can see there's an audio book there and some guides on how to get started. Short answer, if you want anyone to work with you, it sounds like you're asking because, you know, girls who are willing to execute on what you're after, you have something in mind and you think it's going to be difficult to find suitable models. So in that case, I always think in these situations, in any transaction, whether it's personal or business, there has to be a transfer of value. So either you need to have a great portfolio and you're going to deliver excellent images, or give them give them a boost in terms of their followers or whatever it is that's important to them, or pay them. And if you want someone who's more experienced than you and is in demand and can charge, then you can't really expect them to do it for no pay. So, you know, having a clear concept and a good portfolio to fall back on will help you get started. And if you want a top tier model, then you're most likely going to have to pay for it. The next one is this is one with a picture, if that helps you find it, Darren Michael Turner. What's the biggest culture shock issue you've had since moving to New York? That's it's interesting. There's loads and loads and loads of little things, but not one big thing that I can't think of anything that just jumps out as saying like, well, that's just bizarre. That doesn't make any sense to me. Probably because I've traveled here a lot. There'd be little things like it's more like how the names people call things, or I still sometimes am surprised by tipping and that tax isn't included on the prices you see in places. So everything you go to buy, it ends up going through as more once you get to the register. But actual culture shock things, I don't think anything. This isn't a cultural thing, but a lifestyle change has been, I don't know if you can hear it now, but there are sirens going off all the time. You know, 2 nights ago outside my window, they resurfaced the entire street in the night hours from like 11 p.m. onwards. Did an amazing job, so efficient, got it done, but it was noisy. And this morning there was fire trucks and police blocking off all the streets because a manhole cover blew off apparently from a pressure buildup. So living in this thick of a city has some shocks of its own. Another picture one here from Tom Wright. What's your choice of camera lens combo to shoot to stop action in low light? Well, so I don't choose lenses based on that kind of criteria. I choose lenses based on what's the scene, what's the shooting parameters, and what's the look I want. Can I get close, or am I going to be forced to be close or forced to be far away? And then what kind of frame do I want? If I have the choice of being up close with a wide angle or further back with a telly, which one's going to give the right result? For example, I think I did a video on this actually years ago. I used to shoot some concerts of dancers, and you'd have the choice, and most photographers would be right in the pit, shooting straight up at them with an ultra wide angle lens to get them. And you get a look, it's really dramatic. I would be the only one at the back of the room with a 200mm or longer, getting the long shot on it, which gives a distortion free effect and a perspective that was different to everyone else. In terms of the camera, I'm pretty spoilt. I have the D5, which is pretty amazing at the high ISOs and great frames per second, great focus in low light. So that's my choice, and the lens would vary. Okay. Okay, so there's actually some quite generic ones here that I will skip a little. That guy photo, it's like 6 lines long. With so many people using post-processing to clean up bad photos, how can someone really set themselves apart as a photographer these days? Can anyone truly have a one-of-a-kind style look to call their own? On one hand, it's a fair question. On the other hand, it's this is the reality, deal with it type situation. Forever, the process of capturing an image, finalizing it, and presenting it has been a couple of steps. So whether it was the guys shooting tintype prints where the people had to sit up nice and straight 150 years ago to get a still shot over a minute-long exposure, or, famous example, Ansel Adams and his beautiful landscapes, a lot of those people were all in one and doing their editing and everything themselves, but plenty actually shipped it out and sent it to someone else. And a lot of even who employ either editing or they're shooting the same subject again and again and again and again and again so they can edit by selection what they're finally going with. I get what you're saying, but I just think a really amazing graphic artist can turn an average photo into something quite breathtaking, but they're different skill sets, and I don't think you have to be skilled in both. There's a couple of, I'm thinking specifically, I've got a couple of friends in Australia who are Nikon ambassadors who don't do any editing themselves. Either it just goes straight out on the wire as a JPEG and straight into newspapers and magazines, or when it does need to be edited, they just hand that over to someone else, sometimes because they're working for a movie and they take control of the edit, sometimes because it's just not in their skill set, so they entrust someone else to do that. So that's a question for you and the final result you want and the path that's going to work for you to get the final image you want. Jonathan Melancon. My friend hired a pro photographer for his wedding, but I would like to give it a shot too, although unofficially. Is it bad etiquette? I will not get in the way, but I may try to sell them the pictures after if they like them. What would be a good price per pictures? I plan on renting 1 or 2 additional lenses for the occasion. I don't know. This feels like one of those situations where I can say something that's going to offend you, and I don't really want to do that. Let's split the question up. My friend hired a pro photographer at his wedding, but I would like to give it a shot too, although unofficially. Is it bad etiquette? Let's assume that's the whole question. My response would be, ask your friend, have them have a conversation with the pro photographer. If it's my wedding and I'm hiring Chris to be my photographer, and I say, oh, and Uncle Bob is also going to be taking photos, please let him. If he gets in your way, just give him a slap. It's fine. You've got priority on the day, but I'm giving him permission to shoot. Then the pro photographer should respect that request. But then your follow, as the pro photographer, it can be a pain though. But everyone has a phone, whether it's their iPhone or a big, DSLR. But your question about you do want to try and sell them photos afterwards, if your friend is having a wedding and you're planning to shoot the wedding and then try and sell your friend photos, I think that's bad friend etiquette rather than bad photographer etiquette. Rags 378. Do you like New York? I think I've covered that. Love it. Have you ever considered critiquing photos for a fee on an individual basis? Not really. I have done some little things in the past, and in my workshops I do, and on my tours I do, but not like a sitting down full-on portfolio review. To be perfectly honest, with the amount of free time I have, I think there's a concept in economics of diminishing returns, that for when you're starving, the first hamburger, you'll pay $100 for it, the second one 20, and once you're starting to get full, it gets to a point where if people are giving away hamburgers, you don't want them anymore. Or the reverse is true with supply. So with my time being so limited, I think the price that I would need to be paid to sit down and spend 3 hours to do a portfolio review, to put together a critique for someone, no one would be willing to pay it. What is it? Valenzuela? Something like that, 1217. Can a camera sensor get worn out by taking too many exposures? Should we be conservative with our camera clicks? In theory, sure, it's an electronic component. It definitely can. Should you be conservative with your clicks because of that? No. Go out and shoot. Practice. Enjoy your photography. You can wear your shutter out. That's more likely to happen, or the mirror mechanism. But still, it's very few people who wear a mirror out. Most people upgrade or break the camera otherwise. I don't know if you can see that in the frame. The channel's motto is still get your gear out for a reason. Whatever gear you're shooting with, whatever you like to shoot, whether you like to learn by watching or reading or observing or whatever, you will learn best by actually getting your camera out of the bag, taking 1,000 photos, reviewing them, and then consciously making an effort to make the next 1,000 better. So I would say shoot more, not less. Photo ADX, do you consider any mirrorless cameras professional and up to your standards? Thanks, and I hope NYC is treating you great. Thanks. Look, professional's a really dangerous and divisive word, to be honest, because what does it mean? If you're saying I'm a professional photographer or I'm a professional water drinker or whatever, people have different opinions. Does it mean you make some money from it? Does it mean that it's, in this context, does that mean can I take a photo with it and sell it? Does it mean that it's up to the kind of work I do, or what? Because to be honest, for me, what I look for in a camera for my professional work is that it just meets my needs, it's comfortable, it's reliable, and it has the features I need. So there's sometimes where I want huge res, there's sometimes where I want really fast frames per second, and I almost always want it to be incredibly rugged and, you know, as well weather sealed as I can. And a big part of it is then what's the after sales support? Can they actually support me? I don't want to badmouth them, but there's a company whose product I'm having an issue with at the moment, and it's just a massive pain in the ass to try and get anything resolved. And that for me is part of it. You know, you give me the best built thing, and the way I use things, I'll probably still need to send it in for service within a year. So that turnaround process is important for me as well. Sydney and Johnny, do you ever find your feelings or mood affects your pictures, and if so, what do you do? I think so, yeah. I can be quite moody. So if I'm, if I'm really excited or down or cranky or whatever, I'm sure it affects, if nothing else, the way I interact with people, and that for sure impacts the shots. But if it's so I'm in that situation thinking if I'm like doing travel or doing a casual shoot. If I've, however, been hired to shoot and come away with these 3 things at the end of the day, and that's the job, then I'll get it done. I just may not have a good time doing it. So I don't know if your question is how do you deliver on it like that, and my answer to that is you just keep focusing on what it is you're there to do, and that the client's important. Or if you're asking about how do you lift your mood, then that's a pretty tricky one. But for me, if I'm in a really foul mood, there's some songs I like to listen to and some wines I like to drink, and that usually brings me out of it. I think that is all the ones we had saved. Fantastic. So let's see. Now that I can't actually open up the thing that I was going to introduce to you guys, because I don't know if I'm allowed to, let's just open it up to some live questions now. Again, prefer if you really have to ask a gear question, make it specific and brief, like I shoot with the D5, I mostly shoot birds, I'm tossing up this lens and this lens, which one do you think would work better? Something like that. But I would prefer it if it was more travel, technique, business, any of those kind of things related. Speaking of, load up the lower third for me. If you want to join one of my future tours, I've got all of these Mongolia videos coming out at the moment. Jump on over to mattgranger.com/workshops and you can see all my different tours and stuff that are going on there. We've got a couple of new ones that are going to be coming out soon, and there's EOIs up there right now.
Good question from Chris A.
Chris A.
About, camera repairs.
I missed it. Okay. What would you recommend photographers do when an expensive lens or camera needs a serious repair, assuming there's no insurance? It's a tough one. Important repairs. Well, I would take a step back and say, do try to have stuff insured. And if it's a mission critical piece of equipment, have spares. So for example, at the moment, Chris and I are planning our packing list for Japan. It looks like we'll be taking A7S2, FS5, Nikon D5, and probably one extra body as a backup, because at times we will need a stills camera and 2 video cameras that are all 4K capable. So if one of them went down, we need an extra one. So most likely I'll take along the A7R2 as well. And we have some redundancy in lenses, fortunately being Nikon to Sony. If we take a couple of adapters, any of my Nikon lenses can then also be used on the Sonys for video without any trouble. So that's a good one. I saw a question here that I wanted to answer. Let me just jump back. Caution is out. This is boring. See you later. And thanks for your contribution. Okay, so who can teach me to take photos? Okay, so I see Adam Signore. I can't say his name. I can't say his name. I didn't see the question. If you have a question and I've missed it, keep sending it through, because they're going so fast I sometimes miss them. But if you see any other ones there, Chris, give me a shout. Tony and Chelsea are watching, are they?
I haven't seen their comment, but...
Hello, if you are. Nice to see you guys. Not quite as polished as your show just yet. Now, Mark Mook asking, what did you rename Sir Clickslot? Did we actually give that away in the last video, Chris, or that was in the one that we lost?
I think we gave 2 options at the end of the video.
Okay, so here you go, a little peek behind the scenes. We are still working out our workflow. The week before I went to Mongolia, we filmed a crazy amount of footage, and footage from my vlog in Las Vegas. Lost it, don't know where it is, that vlog won't be coming. And we actually filmed an extra budgetography video with Alexis that day, lost it, don't know where the footage is, and we had announced the name in that one. So I do have a name, but I'm going to share that a little bit later. Question. Daryl Wood, what lights are you using for video at the moment? We have more coming, but we're using LED lights at the moment that aren't color variable, but we're looking at getting some in that give you a spectrum of color so you can better balance things out. You know, at the moment we have a little bit of daylight coming in as well, so it's really good for being able to balance that stuff out. Okay, Mark, no, you never told us. There's no need to yell, especially with that cute child as your photo. You're freaking me out. I apologize, we will get to it. Budgetography is a series I really love. I think it's a cool concept, and I really enjoy making it. So there's going to be more of those coming. D. Rekalo, did you ever visit Croatia? I haven't, but I would love to. I've got some Croatian friends, and it looks like just a gorgeous country. I would really love to get there. We are looking at getting over to that part of the world later in the year, so let's see if that pans out. I actually have part of the super efficient workspace that we're trying to set up here. We've got desks down here, filming areas here. At that end of the room are just giant month-long planners that are like this big that help us try and plan it out. And I've got another one that's the whole year, and the available days are shrinking and shrinking all the time. James Parrish. Since you mentioned using Nikon glass on Sony, what adapters are you using, and are any of them AF adapters? I personally haven't used an AF adapter Nikon to Sony that I was happy with yet. There's more on the market that I haven't tried yet, but so far I haven't. But I use Kip-on adapters, and I have 3 different ones for that combo. I've got a simple one. I've got one that gives you aperture control on Nikon lenses that don't have the aperture ring. And I've got one that gives tilt shift functionality to the lens as well, so it's pretty sweet. Jared Whaling, what's that stuff on your keyboard? I spilt a rainbow on it. I've used these for ages. I really like them. I'll be honest, the first one I just got because I'm so untidy. And probably I eat most of my meals over the keyboard during the day. And in my life, I remember destroying at least 4 keyboards by spilling full cups of coffee on them. And this helps keep crumbs and smaller amounts of liquid out. I later went to getting these ones that actually have shortcuts printed on them. So I have some for Photoshop, Lightroom, and Final Cut Pro, and these ones are made by kbcovers.com. Main thing that you're looking for, they're silicon. I used some other ones in the past, but they really stretched out and lost their shape. I have to disclose, I guess, a conflict of interest or something there. KB Covers saw that I was using some and they were getting tatty and wrote to me saying, do you want some more? And I said, sure. That was the week Chris was starting. I thought that'll be nice for Chris if I have some covers here that I can give him. And they sent me some out. So thank you, KB Covers, for that. They're working out just great.
Good question from Stephen Smith.
Okay, remember it because I just saw the one that I missed before. Jarek Wesley, is that your real name? Because I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. What's the main lens you're using on live Q&A and on what focal length? Right now we're using the 24-70 on the D5 and it's around 40 mil because even though we're going out in 1080, the camera's in 4K mode, so that gives us a field of view of about 60. And then on the A7R2 over here, we're filming with the 85 mil Bardas lens. So that's the two we're using. What was his question?
Can you recommend a community for aspiring photographers to share your work and get feedback on?
Oh, it's actually something that so the question was, can I recommend a place to share your work and get feedback? There are Flickr groups that are incredibly active where you can share that stuff. I would really love it if my monthly competition became a place where people interacted more. And in the past, I did regular photo critiques where I would give a theme or someone could submit a portfolio of 5 and then I would make a video critiquing it. But again, it's just a matter of time. We have so much content we want to make and just not enough time. So I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer to that one. Okay, how long has this been going on and is there still a lot left? Alexi, I don't know how long you have been in the room, but I answered your question. So the live videos have DVR functionality where you can skim back through. So if you skim back through, you'll be able to find it. Curious, have you found your American Tina? Well, I guess you mean a co-host / model / friend for the channel rather than an actual replacement to Tina, because obviously she's a whole rounded human being that can't be that easily replaced. I'd say no, and it took me a while to find Tina as well. My 2 cents on why Tina is so loved on the channel and why she's gone on to have such incredible success on her own channel, I think she's at 1.2 million subscribers now, maybe even higher, it doesn't hurt that she's gorgeous, but I think the real reason, and to put it down to looks is unfair to her, is that she's quick-witted, genuine, funny, and just a lovely person. So people could see that we had a genuine rapport, we were real friends, and unlike sometimes when I have a model in where they're focused only on their poses and stuff, and then I might make a quip and say something to them, and they're not even really listening, she was always there ready to quip right back. So I think that's why people liked her so much. We have worked with a few people so far, and I have to say they were all really, really good. We've been really lucky so far. There's one lovely lady in particular that you haven't met yet, but if you follow me on Instagram, you would have met. Stephanie has her own channel. She, by chance, is of Vietnamese descent as well, but that was totally by chance. And she will be featuring in a couple of upcoming videos, and because she has her own channel, she's quite used to filming, and I found that she's got that same quick-witted thing that Tina has, so hopefully we'll do more work together. The only downer is she lives like an hour from New York, so bringing her in for a short thing is not really ideal. So let's say it's an hour total, and so 15 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. So any more questions you have, keep them coming on through. I know at least 60 people following Matt. Okay, sweet. Tamron 90mm is a stunner on crop. Yeah, I was actually filming with the Tamron 90mm macro lens, the latest gen, last night. I went out to do a seafood video after I was actually at a YouTube headquarters, New York headquarters event last night. Then we went out to dinner, and I thought rather than just taking the GoPro in these dark restaurants, it never performs that well. I lugged my D5, the 24-70, and a 90mm macro so I could get some macro shots on the food. Even though we're at ISO like 8000, it will come across a lot better than it would have on the GoPro. Great lens. Bilco, do you get products to review from manufacturers? Yeah, I do sometimes. It would be impossible to buy everything that we want to get into review. It's still, I have to say, someone emailed me or Facebook messaged me or something just this week saying, I just started a channel and it's really hard getting access to equipment. It's still really hard to get access to equipment. In Sydney, when I had built up relationships, it would still not be just a matter of picking up the phone and something arriving later that week. It still takes time, and there's still a lot of companies who don't respond at all. So I'm actually planning a couple of things that I'll be hopefully loaning equipment from some friends to do the tests on, because I'm not in the situation that I can just drop thousands of dollars on something just to do a YouTube review on it if the manufacturer won't help us out with a loaner of it. Are you going to do a 2017 version of Best Mirrorless Camera? That question from E.J. Bernal. I would like to. If you haven't seen it, check out my playlist. I did a Mirrorless in Manhattan series where I chose out what I thought were the top 5 mirrorless cameras, took one to each borough of New York City and did a little comparison thing. I don't know about that, but we have some pretty sweet travel content coming of a similar kind of format to that, where we take some equipment somewhere, see the area, have the food, see the sights, test the camera in a location, and kind of take you to a place to do it. So we have that coming, but it's not going to necessarily be all about mirrorless. Adam Signoeli, you mentioned the problems you had with the Mavic Pro in the cold in Mongolia in your cold weather video. What were they? It was mainly this big hulking Italian doofus who just kept getting in the way and blocking my screen. Hi, Adam. I met Adam on the Mongolian tour. Hope I can say he's a good mate now, but I like nothing more than teasing each other. Congratulations, he's gone and bought one afterwards. So has Keith, and I think at least one other from the tour has their order in for a Mavic. Okay, so I haven't sorted out what the issue was, why that was happening, but we found that the DJI Go app was quite buggy, trying to use the Osmo, just connection issues all the time. I don't like to badmouth things and say it was necessarily the app. It could be my device, it could be the app, it could be the actual product I was using, it could be me. So it's not necessarily the app that was a problem, but we had connection issues with that. In that situation, I was lucky. I had a super genius IT friend on the trip who was talking to me about it. We kept finding that it would lose contact with the drone and that there was lots of different communication errors, but they were mostly happening when we were on the frozen lake, this giant frozen water mass, and he said that all of that ice could cause issues with electronic transmittance. So that could be it, because when I was in the desert, for example, and it was still really cold, I didn't have much in the way of that. It was mainly when we were over the ice. So that's probably a fairly niche issue that other people aren't going to experience, being on, 10 million tons of frozen ice flying their drone. Okay. Samuel asking the same question 20 times. I think you know the answer is that I haven't seen it. And Abraham just responded a little bit more directly. Someone, I'm sure, saw that and will check it out. But a little tip if you're trying to use the pilot fish method of gaining followers by commenting on other people's things, do it at the right time and once or twice in a smart way rather than just being repetitive, because that'll lead to responses like Abraham's and people not wanting to go check it out. So maybe just, be a little bit more selective about it. Daniel Spalding, with regards to buying an f2.8 lens versus an f4, for example, the 24-70, does the f2 offer any benefit over the f4 when not shooting wide open? Well, there's a specific and a general answer to that. The specific one is it still gives your camera f2.8 to focus with. So even if you're shooting at f8, the camera focuses wide open, then stops down to take the photo. So you're getting twice as much light to focus with, so that can help. Generally, the 2.8 lenses out on the market, when there is a 2.8 or an f4 variant, are overall higher optical quality. So if you're shooting with the 2.8 stop down to f4, you'll find the sharpness has improved, the vignetting has improved a little bit, but already they put the best tech into their 2.8 zoom lenses. So you'll probably find that yes, shooting a 2.8 lens stop down to f4 rather than the f4 version wide open, you do get a better image, but that's a really general statement because obviously there's so many different variables. Marky Allright, Matt, will you meet Kai Man Wong again? I don't know. I mean, I know he's out. He's a free agent now. I don't know where he is in the world, but somewhere in the UK, I think. Potentially. To be fair, I've only met him the once. I know the boss of Digital Rev a lot better. I only met him and Kai the one time, and based on that, don't know. But he seems like a nice enough guy. If the opportunity comes up, I would love to collaborate more. So yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see, couple of last ones. Any you see pop them out. Will you be going to Cologne next year when the D850 arrives? I think that was a gentle nudge because I predicted that the D810 replacement would come last Photokina, and if it didn't come then it should probably come in CP Plus in February, and there's still nothing come out. But so my new guess, third time's a charm, right, would be that it'll come mid-year, although I don't think there's a show on at that time, because that's right on the anniversary of 100 years of Nikon as a company. The next big show is NAB, which is right in a month in Las Vegas. But the D8 whatever is not going to be video focused, I imagine, so I doubt that they would launch it there. Having said that, they did launch the D5 and the D500 at CES, really trying to push their video features. But it's just the case that, hardcore cinematographers, Nikon really aren't on their radar other than, vintage glass.
Nick Ryder has a nice question. What was your biggest challenge in your photography career?
The biggest challenge in my photography career. I think in most industries, the toughest part is just, generally speaking, there'd be two, and I'm probably more that I haven't gotten to yet because I'm not at that level. But the first one is just not giving up and working out whether you should generalize or specialize, which I have done some content on before. But most businesses fail. That's just a reality. A lot of businesses never really get in the running because they're not given enough attention or people give up on it. So that's another one why it doesn't work out. Then the big thing is how to scale, especially in photography. If you're the face, this is Matt Granger photography, it's hard to then replicate yourself. So you need to hand off pieces of the business to people to do things so you can keep focusing in on your core strengths. But to be honest, when you're working all your waking hours already, finding time to then train someone to take over this part of the admin, that has been really challenging for me. So it's something I struggled with. It took me years to find an assistant at all, and then it took me quite a long time, and I was happy with that decision looking back, before I moved up in terms of my premises. You might look at this now and think it looks pretty schmick, but for one, you're not seeing all the crap around the room and the reality of the situation. You're seeing what we want you to see. The second thing is, this is my fifth workspace, I guess. My first one was a spare room in the house, tiny, and it was free, so that's what I was using for a long time. Then we went to my first rented premises was in literally the dodgiest and least desirable suburb in Sydney. If you're from Sydney, you probably can guess which one it was. Punchbowl. It was on a major road with a bus stop right out the front. It was noisy. We always half joked that we might get shivved going to or from work. It was not a great area at all. And then went on to this last studio I had in Sydney, which was just in a really unglamorous but safe and quiet area of Sydney with a lot more space. And then now to New York in a smaller space, but where we've learned lessons along the way of how to make it work better. Yeah, I think maybe amongst that rambling answer, I kind of answered your question. I'm going to just choose out one or two last ones. David Fowler, does your wife help you with your business? She does in one or two formal ways and lots of informal ways. Formal ways, she's always helped me take care of the books. She also now helps me look after some admin stuff and helping me find models. She's always helped a little bit with that. And planning trips and that kind of thing. Some of the video series we have coming up will be based around trips, so she'll be helping to organize all of that kind of thing. And generally speaking, to have a partner who supports you to quit a good, really high-paying, secure job to follow this kind of a path and gives me the freedom to, follow my instinct and come to New York and, expand the business and hire staff, and will give an opinion, but ultimately back the decisions I'm making. That's obviously a huge help for the business. Okay, Simo, can I suggest adding a calendar to your events section of your webpage so we can subscribe and get updates easier? Please email me and tell me how I would do that. That would be really good. At the moment, it's something I need to work on. My workshops page, again, mattgranger.com/workshops. If you go on over there, that lists my workshops. It also lists my international photography tours. It lists if I'm having a meetup or a photo walk or any of that kind of thing. And I worry that people don't go and check it because they're like, well, I don't want to take a workshop. I wanted to look at a tour, or I wanted to come along and just have a beer with you at a photo walk or something. But that's where all of that is. And yeah, actually having a calendar of events would be fantastic. So we'll look at that. And then if we can set the calendar up so that the events could click out to whatever it is that we're doing, that'd be really great. Yes, and the Siege Cinema, that's Chris, by the way, sitting in the background. The next New York meetup will be next Friday at 6:30, somewhere in Manhattan. Check out mattgranger.com/workshops, and we will, in the next 24 hours, have details up there of where it is. And can I ask you for a favor? Please, right now, if you're viewing this in YouTube, ring the bell, the notifications bell. That'll then let you know next time we do a live video, it'll pop up to tell you Matt's going live. The future videos we're doing are going to be kind of quite spontaneous. We've just gotten approval that we can show you something, so we turn the cameras on and we do it. It may not all be scheduled, and it will also, give you updates on what we're doing on YouTube. And if you haven't followed on the social media, likewise, basically for Facebook, you need to stop in sometimes and click into the page, because anything I share that links to my website about a free event or links to YouTube for a stream we're doing, they just absolutely kill the reach. I shared that we were having this live chat on Facebook, and an hour later I checked and it had reached 88 people out of 110,000 or whatever. So you need to actually click in sometimes to see what's going on. Lucky last question. I am going to choose one, so rush in with your questions now, and I'll choose one. But otherwise, before I'll just start to wrap up, thank you to everyone for joining us today. Sorry for having the mic pack just muted there for 20 or 30 seconds. We'll work our way through that. Again, thank you to, I should ask give a personal thanks. Thank you to Andrew at Teradek, who was on the phone with us today, helping us work through to make sure that this would be as smooth as possible. As you can see, none of the gear has failed, just my fat finger failed us in the end by not unmuting the mic. Everything's working well, and we really have some cool, much more interactive, much more action-packed live stuff coming. So make sure you ring that bell so that you get our updates. Last one I'm going to choose is, okay, I'm going to choose two because this one I can't finish on. Thomas, should I buy a used Tamron 70-200 VC for €700, or should I just get the 7200 G2 ... Picture quality wise, I don't know your budget. Picture quality wise, get the new one. Depending on your budget, make a sensible choice. Not going to finish on that one either. Oh, apparently my audio is clipping. Sorry about that. We will work on that as well. We review these afterwards and do sit down and try and take away some learning so the next one is better. Last one. Cobastian, do you archive your photos and what do you use? Yes, of course. I have hundreds of thousands of images I've taken and then loads and loads of video. This was not a planted question. In the field, I use this. This is a 2 terabyte SSD from Samsung. It's called a T3. I also take along a LaCie 4 terabyte to 2 terabyte RAID hard drive that's in a crash enclosure, a rugged enclosure. So on the road, that's what I use. When I get back, I back them up to a QNAP server. It's the, I can't remember the model, search my channel for QNAP and you'll see it there. So it goes to that, and then I also back up to the cloud as well. And for critical assignments I've got going on, we'll have an additional backup as well. And once I've finished a project like shooting either of my art nude books, I actually archive all of the keeper images on archival discs as well, just as an extra. I think that will do us. Thank you for watching, everyone. I don't really have much more to say except it's 5 p.m. on Friday afternoon in New York City, my new home. Thank you for your support. Thank you for understanding as we work through all of these bugs and issues. Chris is working out great. We're both working really hard, but there's a lot of variables in play. So please bear with us as we make a couple of little missteps as we take the content to the next level. And again, thank you for all your interaction and support on the recent videos. I can see a big upswing in the overall gratitude, or people acknowledging that the quality is getting better. So that's really encouraging to see that the hard work we're putting in is actually being noticed. So thank you very much, and we will see you soon. Ring the bell because I'll be scheduling an upcoming live event for early next week to share something really hot and really not announced at this stage. Okay guys, I'll see you later. Roll credits or however you do that.